This class is called Social Stratification and Mobility. It's meant to be an undergrad class for 3 or 4 years for the undergrads. And today we're going to be talking about 2 of the core concepts in the literature of inequality. We're going to be exploring the relationship between income inequality and social mobility. So I'm going to start by asking you, what does it come to your mind when I say things such as what is income inequality, what does it mean, and what is social mobility? So if you want to volunteer for any of these 2 concepts. So the first one, income inequality, I think is more well known. What would you say is income inequality?
Some people earning more than others.
Yeah, perfect.
But it's income, but income could be from investments which wouldn't be earned.
Yes, that's there are many types of inequalities that come from different sources and speak of different processes. When I say income, I mean the whole incomes regardless of the sources. But it's true that inequalities in earnings is different, for example, from inequalities in wealth. They speak of different social processes. But to make it simple in the first class, let's think about income as the sum of all of your material resources. Now, the second concept, social mobility, is a bit more tricky, I think. So I would like to hear what does it come to mind when we talk about social mobility.
I guess it's the ease with which you can move from one class to another.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the lower class, you can move to the middle class through education or earnings or all those kind of things.
But
yes.
How is class defined?
Yeah, that's that will come later in the class. But let's say for now it's just a simple measure, continuous measure of material resources, say money. Now, that's an excellent definition, but it's a bit trickier to think about social mobility in terms of whether we talk about absolute mobility or relative mobility. Let me give you an example. You have a society. For the next generation, the society doubles the income of everyone, right? So in absolute terms, everyone moves up, right? So the people who earn $100 in the previous generation, the son of them earn $2,000. The person who earned $1 million, the next generation earns $2 million. Everyone is upward movement. However, in relative terms, the rankings remain the same, right? So just to clarify that in this class, when we talk about social mobility, we're going to be talking about relative mobility, which aligns with your definition. How easy it is for a person of a given, say, social class or social origin to end up in a different social destination, either upward or downward. Okay? So income inequality is the dispersion of resources. Social mobility is the relationship between the resources in the parental generation or a previous generation and the resources in the next generation. Okay, so now the common intuition in the popular view, the common intuition is that there is a relationship between these 2. That unequal societies, in terms of resources, tend to produce unequal opportunities, and therefore little mobility, right? So countries where the resources are distributed in an unequal way also distribute opportunities in unequal ways, and therefore it's hard for people who come out from the bottom of the income distribution to end up in a different place, and it's hard for people who come from an advantaged position to lose their advantages in the next generation, right? However, although this sounds very intuitive, the original models of the relationship between income inequality and income mobility, when this was a starting field, talk about these 2 as 2 theoretically independent dimensions of inequality, and in the following way. So imagine you have a society that is only has two people, so this is timing 0. People A, person B, okay? Person A has 100 euros as income, person B has 1 euro. 1 euro. Then they have children. The children of person A earns 1 euro, right? The children of person B earns 100 euros, right? So here, if you compare these two societies, they are both, they have the same extent of income inequality, right? If you say, how is the expression of income, right? They are highly unequal, and yet they are perfectly mobile in the sense that the children of the person who had the most end up with very little. The children of the person who had very little end up with the most, right? So.
Okay.
My fault, sorry.
Nice.
Good.
Did you get hurt?
No.
It needs to be more than ankle.
Yeah, the one would actually be a bit shorter.
More
I
than
guess.
ankle.
Yeah.
Did you keep
That's it, perfect,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Thank you. Okay, so.
That's how students do practical jokes on their teachers.
Reputation is already ruined.
So, having an independent relationship between income inequality and income mobility is theoretically possible. However, for this to happen, we will need societies that do not resemble at all the societies we need. We will need societies where parents do not do nothing at all for the children, nor either intentionally or mechanically, right? Mechanical meaning that just by the very fact of belonging to a family, you learn things, you get some expectations, values, approaches to life, blah, 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 which we'll be revisiting in the next classes. And in fact, the evidence that we know do not support this view. They support the intuition that inequality it is positively related with social mobility. One very well-known work is the work by Mike Korak, that he created this very simple plot that became famous because
Is this in the syllabus?
this is in the syllabus.
And how do you say his name? Spell his name?
Mike Korak. You will have to read it for the first. Mike Korak, he had this very simple article where he correlates measures of income inequality by the Gini coefficient with measures of income mobility by the intergenerational elasticity. We'll come to that. We'll come later to this. Gini is a measure of inequality. Intergenerational elasticity is a measure of social immobility. And this became kind of viral when Alan Kruger, who recently died this week, who was at the time, is a famous economist who was at the time a policy advisor for Barack Obama. He presented this article by Korak to Obama to convince him that we have a problem with inequality in fact. And he termed it the Great Gatsby curve in reference to the movie, The Great Gatsby. And the plot what it does, it correlates income inequality with income mobility. So what they found is that countries like Sweden, for example, that have very little inequality, also have a lot of mobility, or very little immobility. Countries like the US that have substantial income inequality have limited chances of limited mobility. And then countries like Brazil that have dramatic levels of inequality has also very little social mobility. So you find this more or less positive relationship between the two measures. Now this is at a very aggregate level. now if we can think about how does this happen. How do we say?
Sorry?
What? Over the 50 or?
No, you still have another 4 minutes.
Okay.
No, more than that.
Okay.
7 minutes.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing in this class is to think about possible mechanisms that that explain this relationship. How is that the dispersion of resources is in society is related with the distribution of opportunities. So I said here, so this is the Gini coefficient. What the Gini coefficient measures is income inequality. And this is what is called the intergenerational elasticity, which measures income immobility. So we're going to be revisiting this concept today to clarify the link between the two. So intergenerational income elasticity. So the intergenerational part is because it measures a relationship between the income of two generations. So it spans across generations. Elasticity, we'll see what it means in the next classes. But let's start with a very simple model where we have, this is a variable that measures the income of the children. This is constant. Then we have this thing that we call intergenerational elasticity. And then we have the income of the parents. Let's say everyone has only one parent. And some noise.
What?
Some noise. Then I'm going to plot this. So this looks like this. So this is that. The income of the second generation. This is the income of the parents, right? And we have data. So here, this is that thing, which captures the fact that the economy grew from one generation to the other. The next generation is on average richer than the parental generation. So parents who made 0, for example, their children made 10, let's say. Now, what we are interested in is this, the slope of this curve. What this means is how strong is the association between the resources of the parents and the resources of children, right? So if we have a society where this curve looks like this, flat, we'll have, this is 0.
So time is not shown in this.
Time is, indexed by the fact that the x-axis is the parents and the y-axis is the children.
So you would set the amount of time, you'd be saying every 5 years, every 10 years, or it's...
Yeah, so to make it simple, let's think that people have some, this is an important definition in the literature. Let's think about people having permanent income. So the income they will earn permanently across their lives. And we know that that doesn't happen. People change their income over time. But just to make the model very simple, I think that people have some stable amount of resources across their lives, right? So this is reflecting the stable amount of resources of parents and the stable amount of resources of children, right? Okay, so coming back to here, so if we have a country like this, where this relationship is flat, this coefficient here will be 0, and this means that think about it this way, the expected income of a children of any given social origin is the same. So no matter how much your parents make, you have in expectation the same income, right? So that means that class of origin or income of origin is not related at all with your expected income. Now there is noise, which is what you asked, which is this, and this is the distance between the prediction and what you actually make. So this is a real person. We will expect them to make this, but they in fact make this. This is another real person. We may expect them to make this amount of money. They in fact make this. That's what is unpredictable by the model, but we, for now, we're gonna just care about what we can predict. Okay, so basically the idea is that the steeper the slope is, the less mobility we have in a society. And then the question is, why are these two things? Yeah. For the next class, we're going to see why are these two things.
So you don't care about the constant, because here it looks like no matter your parents,
right? So
you're going to be poor, no? So
yeah.
Asking questions.
Any question?
It's the super eager student who goes on to the front of the class. So what would you like specific feedback on now? Just tell us one thing you'd like specific feedback on. We're going to write our own comments after that.
One thing, whether the connection between the conceptual part and the formalization is clear.
Whether it what?
Whether the motivation of the class in terms of concepts, it's well aligned and it's clear to understand when I route it, explain it in this way, with plots and...
Okay.
for me it was a bit too fast, but I'm also not really used to those kind of things. So.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a bit fast.
Yeah.
I thought it worked well.
Yeah.
I'm not used to this stuff either, but I thought it was, I was impressed by myself probably more than me. I'm sorry that I actually got the real fast. Yeah. I thought it was.
I thought some stuff could be defined.
Yeah.
But so you refer to it for the next lecture. You're going to talk about noise. In
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next lecture.
Yeah, that's right.
But I wonder whether the formalization is already important, because I got the graph. That's what I got. So I don't know whether you already need to introduce it, no? Or,
Yes,
sorry.
that's it. So he can think about your comment. He's not going to answer.
Okay.
Did you have a comment?
Oh wait, yeah, so it made sense, but I thought it was quite easy to follow in one sense, but I also kind of found myself wondering what was coming next and in the whole course.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of set up that you're going to look at these questions, but I thought maybe a little bit more of a general introduction to how you were going to interrogate those different questions and what was going to come first. And because I felt like as you went through, you were kind of like, oh, but we'll leave that to the next class. Oh, so but the very nerdy student in me was like writing things down and like, okay, I don't, so you don't know when you need to worry about what you don't understand and what will come, I guess.
Yeah.
Also, I found myself like writing down that equation in like a panic. I don't know what's happening. It would obviously depend on how the course was, your handouts and lecture slides and things. The students might not be also.
Maybe I should start by saying don't take any notes today.
I found it was too fast for me.
Okay.
I think, the reason I think it was too fast, there were no visuals supporting what you were saying. I think if I'd had a visual, it would have been easier for me to follow, like the concept. Whereas here I was trying to hold the concept in my head and understand what it was.
Okay.
Great. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.